9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's the Rocket Hour. Y'all are now tuned in. Time to hit the pick four that you'd love to win. If your money's coming slow, step on the faster track with your host, Ricky Pasternak. Let's go.
What is up, everybody? I am not Ricky Pasternak, but I am Picky Rasternak, and I will be the host of Ricky's Rockets today.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Right. Hey, the cat's away. The mice will play today. So, Ricky is at the Mets game. So, Mike Samich, you're on, man. What's up?
Not too much, man. I'm here for the people. I'm just coming through. You know, I'm not going to a Mets game here. What are we doing? Come on, it's the Rocket Hour. You can't skip this.
Ricky has never looked so good, Magic says. So it's interesting you say that because I was talking to Heather last night and I said, Mike's going to be on the show. Ricky's at the Mets game. She's like, at the Mets game? It's like he has a show to do.
It's like did he use a sick day? I mean, what are we doing here? Do we know if he's playing hooky?
Well, that's the thing. Usually when you skip work, you tell the boss, I'm sick or it's my mother's birthday and we have a big celebration. But now he just told me, hey, bro, I'm not going to be on. I'm going to go to the Mets game. And I was like, maybe I'm like a horrible boss for the fact that I should have probably said, no, you're not,
Like, cool, man. Don't worry about coming on Friday or next week or the week after.
So anyway, I don't know. I don't think I was cut out to be a boss. So Magic knows. I wouldn't. Magic can do whatever as well. So there you go. Apply to racing dudes, you get away with whatever, I guess. But listen, we're going to carry on. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to carry on without Ricky today. We're going to be covering the late pick four at Churchill Downs, races 5 through 8. I think it's a pretty good sequence. Overall, before we get going, Mike, what do you think of the sequence? I thought it was pretty good races.
I thought it was a good sequence overall. I think we got an interesting allowance here in the third leg where we got some horses that we definitely know pretty well. So it's interesting to kind of have them come back at 7 furlongs. To me, I have some pretty big opinions in a couple races. So what I tried to do is I love the concept of the show here where it's talking about the strategy of betting, not just necessarily, hey, I'm just going to pop a pick 4 in here and play a caveman ticket and do it this way. And so one thing that I try to do for this specific sequence, and you've seen this a lot for me, anytime I have like major 5-figure scores, it's always with a ladder structure. And so people often ask, like, how do you attack a sequence? How do you go after a sequence? How do you do ticket construction? And, there's a couple ways to do it. The caveman ticket where, it's a 50-cent ticket and you're playing 4 or 5 horses in each leg and you're trying to just connect with 2 or 3 bombs in the sequence. And if you do that, then it's really sexy when you have that 50-cent ticket that pays 15 grand. But it's also really unlikely because not only do you have to pick the right sequence, but you then have to have every one of those horses when you come across it. And so it's very tough to do that. I know a lot of people like the ABC construction where, you have every race, you have your A horses, your B horses, and your C horses, and you have an all A ticket for 50 cents. Then you have, 3 A's and a B ticket for 50 cents, but that means you're playing 4 tickets there because you have the B in each leg. Then you have some ABC tickets. And to me, in a lot of ways, that's just like buying insurance, right? Where you're not really capitalizing on your big opinions. And let's say that you do have 2 B's and 2 A's win, you're only cashing a 50 cent pick 4, and your A's maybe a smaller price, and you're going to cash more tickets that way, but you're not actually going to go after the big score. Then the ladder structure, which is kind of how I prefer to play it, a pyramid structure, however you want to say it, you play a 50-cent ticket, and then you go and you play a $2 ticket, and then you play a $5 ticket. And each way, you're kind of pressing your opinion. So when I play pick 4s, this is generally how I'm going to play it and how I'm going to structure it. So I try to put that together and kind of walk through that here for everybody so that you can see the way where you can really cash in big. And if you're able to hit the $5 ticket, that means the $2 and the 50-cent both cash too. And that's how you can kind of combine that money and be able to hit it for $750 and then get those bigger 5-figure scores. Or even like, hey man, if you hit a $100 pick 4 with a $5 ticket, that pays $1,000.
Yep.
And that's not a bad day at all, right? And it's a lot easier to hit a $100 ticket on a $5 pick 4 than it is to hit a $1,000 pick 4 on a 50-cent ticket.
Yep. Absolutely. So I'm going to put your structure up just real quick before we get started and not have it scroll, but have you see the whole screen and just kind of, you can see the breakdown. This is the ticket where he spreads, the first one. And then the next one, it's the same horses, but he just goes a little skinnier. And then that $5 ticket, bam, we're going to nail 3 singles, too deep in that third leg. And if we're right, we're going to get paid. And that's what I like from what you do compared to the ABCs, where you just kind of are all over the place. I've done both. And the ABC, by the time we get to the last race, I'm confused about what tickets we have, what tickets we don't. I'm with you. I think this ladder makes sense. If you want to, just kind of go through it there for a second, now that everybody sees, you can, or we can just go on, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of run through this here. You can see that, like, look, I have one single that I have singled in both the $5 and the $2 ticket there, and that's why I'm really pressing that opinion in the last race. In the first section, you'll see I have, I'm going to play a 50-cent ticket there that's going to cost $36. I'm using most of the horses I like in each leg. I'm going to be skinny in that second leg. I am using a price in that second leg, though, so I'm trying to still find a way where, hey, look, if the 50-cent ticket connects, I've got a 20 or 15 to 1 shot or higher horse in every single leg, right? So I have a chance at still cashing big in that 50-cent piece of it. But then in that $2, we're kind of trimming it down a little bit. And then that $5, it's, hey, these are my best opinions. These are the horses I like in each race. And if we can be right, we can really cash in. And you look at that and you say, well, how much could that really pay? Well, the 10 horse is 15 to 1 in the third leg. So if that horse gets home, $5 ticket's going to pay. I mean, you're going to do quite well for yourself. So this is kind of how I believe you can really maximize the value in these type of sequences. This is, for me, a less expensive ladder than I normally will play. I tried to make sure I kind of kept it a little bit thinner, specifically on the $2 and $5 ticket. I'll generally play around $100 a sequence. This one's coming in, I think it's right at $70, something like that. Yeah. So I generally will go up to $100 a sequence, and I may add another horse in the $5 pick 4. I may add, go 3x3 by 3x1 in the $2 one. So you can kind of decide how you want to structure it there from a cost perspective. But to me, if you're playing these, you're trying to get the 4-figure, 5-figure scores, the ladder structure is by far the best way to do that.
So we do have a question come in real quick. Are you looking to press opinions on a horse at a price or a favorite that he feels a lock to win? I think I know the answer, but I'll let you go ahead with that one.
I mean, I don't care is the answer, I guess.
Yeah.
I want to press the opinion, period. I don't
care.
You
want to press your top opinion, whether that's a favorite or a long shot.
Correct. I don't care what the necessarily the price is. In that $2 ticket, I may sneak in a price as like a third horse in a leg. If I like a 15 to 1 shot and I don't like the other chalk stuff, I may sneak a horse in here or there. But for me personally, I don't necessarily want to, generally make decisions based purely on price. I'm looking for, especially in the $5 ticket, who do I think is going to win the race? I'm not necessarily looking for, obviously I'm looking for value. I want some value in the numbers as well, but I'm not as worried about trying to sneak a horse in here or there, and definitely not worried about like, hey, I'm not going to just nail it. If I like the favorite, I'm going to bet it, but I'm definitely not using a lot of favorites in those $5 tickets because I'm more playing my opinion versus playing what the board says.
Right, exactly. And I think that's the key to this structure. You want to play your picks. Like if you pick that $5 ticket, and it's like Mike said, you don't want to play your pick. You want to play your top pick, So, and I think that's what you've done there. So the $2 ticket is 48. Somebody says, is that true, Mike? Did you?
I don't think so.
2 times 2 is 4 times 3. No, it's $24.
Yeah, I think I did the math. I just got my calculator out and everything.
Yeah, that's 4. Yeah, no, that's $24. It's 12 combinations times a $2 base. So it'd be $24.
Yeah. So again, it's just really just trying to make the most out of your opinion. And as you get skinnier and skinnier, you're like, okay, how can I really capitalize on this, right? Yeah. And a lot of times I'm going to play either a $20 or $40 $5 pick 4. That's common for me. And like I text you some tickets when I hit them and we talk about them a little bit. Yeah. That's what you mostly see from me is those $5 tickets. They either cost $20 or $40, and that's where you can really reap the benefits of this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, I always look for when we're about 2 legs out, I think, okay, am I going to get a text today or not? So, yeah, I love that. Listen, Emerald last night, you went 4 out of 5. This was a 50-cent ticket, but that thing would have paid. That would have paid.
And that's a different style where and we can talk about that too. I had one big opinion on a 6 to 1 horse, and I singled that horse, and I singled the horse in the next leg, and then spread with all. And I was trying to, in the smaller tracks, if you can play those type of tickets with a $72 ticket and a 50-cent base, you can scoop the pick 5 if you have a 6 to 1 single. And so that's where I'll get a little more aggressive and single a couple legs and then spread out where I think it's more likely a favorite didn't hit, and ended up paying $2,500 and no horse over 92 won any leg. Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. And the horse that you got beat with, should have won the race. So that was awful. Race, let's see, 6th race, number 3, I think was it. So,
Yep.
yeah, I'm an idiot. Listen, we all follow horse racing, so we all are idiots with you.
I also commonly mispost the price of a ticket.
Yeah.
So I don't blame you, Joseph. You definitely math check me every now and then. It's worthwhile.
Yeah. So shout out real quick to the Islanders. Go Islanders! And Jared Bush says he went to the game last night. It was awesome. Yeah, that was awesome. I'm glad they won. Game 5, that was a hell of a game. The double overtime win for the Islanders. So congratulations. They're going to play Boston. Boston's next. I think that will be tough, but
that'll be a fun series.
Be a very fun series. And then you went to the Carolina game, and that game 5 with Nashville, and that was a hell of a game too. So Carolina Tampa that's going to be a sick series if that happens.
2 very good hockey teams.
Yes.
It's going to be all about Carolina's offense if they're going to be able to keep up and score with Tampa. Because Tampa, man, they have been pouring the goals in against Florida.
Yeah, I know. Florida's a very good team, and Tampa kind of just disposed of them. One last question. So you start at the top of the pyramid and work your way down, meaning you start with your top picks and then you spread as the denomination gets lower, basically.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So it's the ladder is like the 50 cent, $2, $5, or the pyramid is, you're getting skinnier in each leg. So you're spread out on the bottom, which is a 50-cent ticket, and the skinnier level is a $2 ticket, and that top is the $5 ticket. Generally, I construct the 50-cent ticket first, and then I work to the $2, and then I work to the $5. Because what will happen is when I'm working on that 50-cent ticket, my opinions might adjust. I mean, I spend more time in ticket construction than I do handicapping races. I don't think a lot of people do that, but I generally will spend more time putting the tickets together than I will actually looking at the race. I think that's an important part of betting as well.
I have told that to a lot of people, and I still don't think they really maybe believe me or really get what I'm saying. But to me, handicapping is when it comes to these sequences like this, the pick 4s, pick 5s, it's probably less than 50% of it at times. It's more about when can I go skinny and get away with it, and when do I need to go deep. So yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, let's get to you're welcome. Let's get to Churchill Downs today. Let me pull this up.
Let's now talk about how we got to the numbers, right?
I was going to say, yeah, let's get to the handicapping and then let's break this down. We agree on most of them. I think we have some disagreement in the third leg. We'll get to that. There it is, race 5. I'm going to pull my best Ricky P impression here. Race 5, Churchill Downs. That's where we'll kick it off. Only 8 races today at Churchill. That's why the pick 4 starts in race 5. Listen, we've got a $75,000 maiden claimer to kick this off. Not really my favorite, but you're pretty good at these claimers. So I'll let you take it away first. What did you see in this leg to kick it off?
Yeah, so I'll start with that $5 ticket. So I'll work down the pyramid as we go through each of these races. I'm going to single the 2-horse in the $5 ticket, Primetime Player. Look, I kind of struggled with this race a little bit when I went through it the first time. I wasn't really sure what horse I wanted to get to. I had a lot of knocks on horses. And so I was kind of working backward in that sense versus loving someone. I kind of hated a couple and then kind of worked backward from there. One of the things that made a big difference for me, and this is ironic that this is going to come up right out of the gate here, I watched the replay for Primetime Player last time out. It was the first time out of the Ron Marquette barn, and we got a full bell curve ride in this one. Literally Primetime Player was choked at the start for no reason by Rosario. Ends up 8 or 9 back in a field of 6, dead last, goes 6 wide around the turn, and closes to beat an even money shot for second. And that was going 6 furlongs. I don't see that same type of trip. The horse that ends up winning there is Risk Profile, who is I think it was an 82 buyer in that race, which would absolutely dominate this field. So I think Primetime Player, that last race is better than it looks on paper. I think that you're getting to a good level here. I think the stretch out here going from 6 furlongs out to the mile is going to be a good thing for Primetime Player. I think the 1 turn is a positive for Primetime Player. So I feel like you're going to see the 2-horse a lot closer to the pace. And I think you're going to get a much better trip in a field that I just don't think is that good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to single up the 2-horse here, Primetime Player, to start out that $5 ticket.
Yeah, and I also used the 2 Primetime Player as well. I'll put my ticket up there real quick. There we go. So I used the 1-2-5 here. Listen, here's the deal about Moquette, and I know this from following him for a long time. He's a very respectable barn. It's a good barn. It's a barn that, it's known nationally. Everybody knows who Ron Moquette is, but he doesn't always get the best jockeys when he goes away from like Oaklawn, so Churchill or in this case, last time out for Primetime Player at Belmont. it's a sign when a guy like Rosario jumps on one of his horses, because that's like, okay, this is probably a pretty good horse. And here he gets Gaffleon, which is probably the jockey you want at Churchill Downs. So, I think it's a really good sign for that horse that, that he gets those good jockeys 2 races in a row. Listen, and we've talked about a lot, bell curve, right? It's just like, sometimes he has a ride that you can't explain. And that's what happened, I guess, with the 2 there. I will talk about the 5 for a second before I kick it back to you. This horse, it's definitely like the defensive type of use, right? Like, this is not a favorite and you go, oh man, I can't wait to play this favorite. But you look at the past races for this colt, especially the one last time out, gets to the lead, gets beat 4 lengths, but that was a $115,000 maiden on Kentucky Derby week. And those races come back very strong. Now we're dropping down to the maiden claiming ranks. Just from class alone, this horse has a shot. But you look, this horse has given up the lead 2 races in a row where maybe he shouldn't have, right? He was ahead by a length in both those races, out by himself, and got beat. So that is a little bit of a worry. But I definitely think the 5 is one you got to use. So 1, 2, 5 for me. I guess I'll touch on the 1 real quick before I kick it back, because I think you got a couple different ones. But for me, it's Sisterson. Second race, I think the first race was just let's see what this horse is all about. Didn't run that great. I do think the stretch out to a mile is going to help, and the drop in class as well. That one race was at Keeneland in a maiden special weight. Now we're going to the maiden claiming ranks and stretching out. I think there's enough there to think the 1 at 8-1 has a little bit of a shot. So 1, 2, 5 is where I went. You have anybody else there, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on the 5. I think that's your next most likely winner, and maybe your speed. I think that the 1, for me, the interesting part was the fact that we started at 6.5, and Sisterson's a trader. When he starts a horse at 6.5, you should have low expectations for. I mean, he generally does not rip them off first time anyway, but to then start him at 6.5, draw the 2 post, and kind of be stuck on the rail, that race was it's draw a line through it. It was a good experience. We're adding blinkers. I think the 1's going to show some more speed here today. So I do like the 1 and the 5 as well. I'm going to use the 2 and the 5 on that $2 ticket. Then on the 50-cent ticket, I'm going to throw the 3 in. And the main reason here is because it's kind of that unknown wild card to me. Curlin Lane, horse sells for $500,000, and they debut this horse on Derby Day, right? And I always talk about this. Look, when you have horses debuting on Derby Day, it generally means they think something of the horse. You don't have ownership groups that want to start on that specific day, and especially with a $500,000 horse, if the horse isn't very good. So I think that the barn thought it was decent. They were unhappy with the performance. We're dropping in for 75, which is probably a little more realistic spot for this horse. No shame in losing to Mr. Sippy, who we believe was a pretty good horse, or came back in a stakes race. I think it was off that allowance, or off that maiden breaking win. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the 3 in here at 12-1 and see if we can kind of sprinkle in an early price here. Roman's generally not a first-time starter guy anyway, right? And there should be a ton of talent here, man. I mean, Curlin out of Giants Causeway mare, the horse should love the stretch out and distance. So I'm going to throw the 3 in at 12-1 too in that 50-cent ticket.
Yeah, the 3 was interesting to me. All Ball Family Stables, the owners, and they usually do have pretty good success with Romans. Not so much this year, but in the past for sure. And I think this was much more logically spotted today. And, sometimes with big ownership groups, it's a situation where they want to debut a horse on big days and, probably just a little over its head. But I'm with you. All right, I think we've got that one pretty well covered. So let's move on to race 6. We get a little bit better horse here, right? Starter allowance ranks, $50,000 starter allowance. Look, I think this is a pretty tough race on the turf, mile 16th on the turf. I should say that. I went short here. I'll kick us off. I went short here. I just used the 4 and the 5. I thought for a while about singling the 5. That was my top choice. Hat Tip is who I'm referring to. I just think, the horse is running at a level that I think is a little lower than what, she's been up against here lately. The last turf, the last race was an allowance at Churchill Downs for $102K. This is a starter allowance. It's a big dip. And I also just kind of think, I look at this and think there could be 3-4 horses on the lead. I think the 5 kind of just sits that perfect stocking trip. And really, lastly, from a Timeform US numbers perspective, the 5 just stands out. And that was really the big thing that got me. So I had the 5 on top here. I also used the 4. Mike Maker on fire right now at Churchill Downs. And it's amazing. We kind of talk about Ricardo Santana and he can't win on the turf. Well, it's because he rides for Asmussen a lot. But when he's on those Maker horses, he's not so bad on the turf. So the 4 and the 5, that's where I went. Mike, how'd you see this one?
So we saw this pretty similarly. I thought the 5 hat tip was a logical single. This is the race I'm going to go shortest in the sequence and the 50-cent ticket as well. I think that hat tip is the most likely horse to win here, to be quite honest. If you look at his races, he's been running against better horses in allowance level races versus this kind of starter optional. So he's coming out of, 4 of his last 5, I believe it is. Yep, are all non-winners of 1 allowances. And the one time he ran in that $50,000 allowance level, runs a 78 buyer, ends up running second to Hey Kitten, faced the 6 horse in that race as well, who I thought was a little bit interesting, but ended up not making the ticket here. I kind of feel like hat tip covers the 4, and that's the reason I didn't end up using the 4. And I also feel like hat tip covers the 6, and that's why I didn't use the 6. When I'm building these tickets out, if I think I can get through a leg by using one of the 3 favorites, because I think that favorite is better than the other 2, and I have a race on paper that proves it to me, a lot of times I'm just going to go with that horse, and then I'm going to go with more of an unknown horse. And that's exactly what I ended up doing here. So I think the 5 is a solid top pick. And when we agree, generally that's a pretty good sign.
Yeah.
I only went 2 deep, and I'm going to throw a little spice in here. I'm going to go all the way to the outside. I'm going to go to Into Victory, the 8 horse. And this is more kind of the unknown. And I'm going to make a case that Into Victory is better on the turf than the dirt. If you go back and you look at what Dean Peterson did with this horse in its 2020 campaign, first 3 races all on turf. Generally, trainers know when a horse is better on the turf or the dirt. That's where he ran in all 3 of those races. Now, it doesn't look like he did much, but he was 12-1, 11-1, and 6-1 in those races, right? He way over his head. And if you look at like Vegas Palm and This Tee, some of these horses came back and ran pretty well in California in 2020. So the horse gets claimed, doesn't get back on turf at all. But notice that 63 buyer was the best buyer this horse ran in 2020. And that was a debut race for going 5.5 furlongs on the turf. Joe Sharp picks this horse up, and we know when you go to the Joe Sharp barn, generally you can have a jump forward. And now we're getting back on the turf. We've got a bullet work on May 13th. Like I think this horse is ready to roll. And Into Mischiefs generally like the turf. Fusiachi Pegasus, another horse with some turf pedigree. What if this horse is better on the turf? And we haven't seen it on the turf in a long time. And now we're getting a mid 4-year-old season. And this horse is getting back to what it wants to do the most. And I'm getting 15-1 with Joe Sharp and Graham. I'm going to take a swing here and see if we can get the 8 as a long shot price here in both the 50-cent and the $2 ticket.
Man, I think you're a little crazy, but I do like, and I'll put up Guy Spaddle's comment, I do like the Joe Sharp angle. First time for Joe Sharp. And Joe Sharp immediately says, listen, this is a turf horse. I don't think there's any doubt. I agree with that. I definitely think the horse is best on the turf. Gonna need a reawakening, no doubt about it. But as the commenter points out, why do Joe Sharp horses have a jump forward?
He's a sharp trainer.
Yeah.
He gets right to the point.
He's a sharp trainer. He has a sharp needle.
But like at 15-1 in a field where you have 3 favorites and one of those favorites is beating the other 2.
Yeah,
I'm willing to try and sneak this horse onto a ticket because I feel like you're getting a lot of upside there, and I feel like I'm covering the other logical winners with my favorite.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I was the same way. If I was going to add a 3rd horse, I was looking for a price. It would not have been the 6th. I thought about the number 3 Artistic Jeweler for a little bit. Second off the claim for Grant Forster, who's a trainer not a lot of people have heard of, or maybe you've heard of, but you don't see a lot. But Grant Forster really does a good job and kind of gets these horses figured out. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you on the price. I think I will be shocked if that horse wins. I'm not going to lie to you, but I've been shocked before by some of your picks. So I'm not quite worried about it. Listen, let's go on to race number 7. I think this race for us, race 6, just to sum it up, it really goes through hat tip. I mean, This horse needs to show up and run her race. And if she does, I think she wins it. So Race 7, definitely the feature, an allowance optional claiming going 7 furlongs, and you kind of set it at the top of the show. We've got a lot of horses that we have heard of in this spot, no doubt about it. It's kind of a race I kind of like to describe as the Boulevard of Broken Dreams type of race. It's just a lot of horses that we thought at one time would be really good, and they really haven't been. So I'm going to let you kick it off, Mike. Race 7, what you got?
Yeah, so the first thing that jumped out at me here, for a 62,000 optional non-winners or 2 going 7 furlongs, the lack of speed was astonishing. Mm-hmm. Generally, you have like 3 or 4 6 furlong horses that want the lead, that are stretching out, that are going to guarantee you're going to go 22 and change, 44 and change, going to fold like a lawn chair around the turn, and the pace is going to absolutely collapse. That is just not the case in this race. There's one speed horse. It's a horse that I don't really like that much, but I talked about this when you have these Boulevard of Broken Dreams races, you got to kind of cover up the name and just look at the past performances, because that you have a natural built-in bias. I know I do for at least 2 of the horses in this race. Yep. So you have these natural built-in biases that you just got to shed, and you got to figure out where to go. Look, Home Base is going to get the lead, the 10 horse. He's going to be out there by himself. He's 15-1, and he's good enough to wire this field with a bunch of horses that may not want to get by him. So I'm going to use Home Base at 15-1 to try and wire the field in the $5 ticket, the $2 ticket, and the 50-cent ticket. And if he wires this field, the $5 ticket's going to pay no matter what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and take a shot on Home Base going wire to wire here. I'm also going to use Answer In that $5 ticket. Look, we're going to talk a little bit about Whiskey Double in a second. I like Answer In more than Whiskey Double because it's a 3-year-old versus a 4-year-old. The 3-year-old is Whiskey Double, coming out of a really tough Pat Day Mile. But Answer In, you kind of look back at this horse. I remember this horse debuting. You were high on this horse because of that Springboard Mile performance. This horse kind of just wants one turn. I think that's what we learned here. And you got that one turn at Gulfstream where the horse kind of got a little bit better during the Champions Meet in December and early January. Comes back in April, runs a nice race, beats Aloha West and King Snake, who are 2 decent horses. Now we're getting second off the layoff here for Brad Cox, the 4-year-old season. You've got that 47 work last time. Cox's numbers at this are great. You get Florent Giroux up, who's probably the best jockey you got there, Churchill. So I think all systems go on the one Answer In. So I'm going to go with the 10, who I think has got the best advantage from a situational perspective. And I'm going to go with the 1, who I think is the best horse in the race.
The 10 is definitely going to get to the lead. It's just if he's good enough. And he's another one. You know what? I've bet him, thought he would be good at times as well. And even though he's 15-1 here, it's like, yeah, I still thought he would, he fits into that mold of, yeah, I thought he would be really good one day, and he just hasn't been. Look, this definitely is a weird race, and the weirdest horse in the race is the 2 Whiskey Double. And because like you said, you really don't see 3-year-olds competing against olders all that often until the later half of the year, but yet here he is. But you also look at his last race, and it's like he's coming out of the Grade 2 Pat Day Mile where he was competitive, and he made a big closing kick against Jackie's Warrior and Dream Shake. I mean, he got beat 4 lengths. So I had to put him in there. I put him on top. And also, he's on my fantasy team. So I need these 5 points. And that's the real reason. Just kidding.
Truth comes out.
Yeah. He's an odd one. And he gets, Santana says, sure, I'll ride him back. And so, listen, he also finished second in the Bay Shore to drain the clock. And he was kind of, closing and a little bit competitive in there. I think he's definitely one you got to throw on the ticket. I want to talk about the 1 Answer In this comment, the Springboard Mile where he lost the Shoplifted. I was super excited when he was going into the Springboard Mile, right? Not when he came out of it. And so what happened was the race before the Springboard Mile, he won by 5 1/4. And then he went to the Springboard Mile. He's a 3-5 favorite. I was there that day, or that night, I should say. It was like 15 degrees when that race finally went off. He gets beat ahead after a horrible trip, and it's been a disaster ever since that. He's just sucked. He's been very, very frustrating. He did win last time out, though. It was by a nose. If you watch that replay, it's a struggle, but he does get the job done, and that's more than you can say for a lot of these horses. I also included number 3, Dean Martini. I'm just kind of a sucker for this horse at this time.
I was waiting to hear the argument.
He seems like the one that should win, but he just never does. You see, every time you see him in an allowance of this caliber, you go, yeah, he should win. This is his time. He never does. He just never does. he's really, really frustrating. When he won that Ohio Derby, you thought, yeah, this, you could kind of see it. He's kind of maybe this up and comer. He's absolutely not been that. I also like the number 4 Banks Island. This is a horse I almost put on top because Brennan Walsh, second off a layoff, Gaffleone back aboard again. Last time out at Keeneland, this horse ran very, very well. I'm not going to be surprised at all if Banks Island wins this thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is where I went. We've got some comments on Necker Island. I'm going to get to those in a second. Mike, do you have any other horses that you haven't talked about yet on your ticket?
Yeah. I mean, you should give these people, if you were talking about, maybe we should give this person a show or something.
Yeah.
Because I went ahead and took Necker Island. I got Necker Island as my 4th horse in. I think that this argument is kind of one of the main reasons why I'm going to do it. You had second off a long layoff. That Derby is kind of like, okay, we just took a chance to get there. Mm-hmm. I think that there's talent in this horse. I think that we saw that when the horse ran really well at Saratoga and then Churchill, all the way back as a 2-year-old. Long break between the Derby, obviously, and then running an allowance at Oaklawn Park, where I think the horse actually ran pretty well. It was kind of a grinded out effort, but there was some traffic trouble coming down the lane. Now we get second off a layoff. Hartman loves Mitch Murrill. We're going back to Mitch Murrill here, who rode this horse at both Indiana and Ellis Park. I mean, I think this horse is going to be rolling late. And those races early in his career, running at 7 furlongs, were some of the best races this horse ran. So if we can go back to those races and we have improvement second off a layoff, second out as a 4-year-old, I think that this horse makes some logical sense in this spot. I think you got a little Derby fever with this horse, and they kind of pushed it and took some chances going 2 turns when Necker Island wants to go 1. And I think this race could set up pretty well for Necker Island. So in the 50-cent ticket, I'm going to throw Necker Island on there. I like the 12-1 price. I think this is another price in this spot that could kind of make some noise if he does get the pace set up, which I'm a little concerned. That was my biggest knock on Necker Island, is that you do need more pace up front for this horse to run into, and I'm concerned there's not as much. That's why the horse didn't make the $2 ticket, but kind of got sprinkled in there in the 50-cent one.
Yeah, Necker Island's always been a dude's punchline. Yeah, he has, and for good reason. It's just look at his past performances. The one thing I'll say, and why he was the first horse I took off the ticket. It's kind of the same angle as Banks Island, right? Where it's second off the layoff. The horse should improve. Is spotted really well. Yeah, I get all the angles. Maybe I should just play Necker Island and not Dean Martini. Maybe that was my big mistake there. But listen, I'm gonna live and die on that Dean Martini hill. But yeah, I definitely could see Necker Island winning this thing as well. Let's get to some of the other comments here. Oh, I love Dean Martini, but no, come on, Dennis.
Yeah, you're gonna die on that Dean Martini Island. You're not gonna live on it.
I hope you.
If you want to sprinkle the 4 in, I agree with Aaron. I think Banks Island is the other horse that I didn't use. So if you want to sprinkle the 4 into my 50-cent ticket, it would bring it up to what? I don't know, $44, $48, something like that. I don't think that would be a terrible idea. If you're not going to play the $2 or the $5 ticket, that's another way to kind of redistribute that money. Because I do think Banks Island's the other one that makes sense in this spot.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think Banks Island. I almost put him on top, but I'm just such a big whiskey double fan. Let's get to this. I like the 5. The 5 is Coltonator. Did you consider the 5 at all, Samich?
I did not, mainly because of who the 5 has been running against. I think that this is a little bit of step up in class, if you will. And like you go back and look, Coltonator lost to Digital. Coltonator lost to Full Authority. I'm starting to look at using a lot of horses if I include the 5. Because I'm going to have to start adding those horses as well. So that's the reason I kind of stayed away from it. Although, if the horse can replicate that last race, then it definitely fits from a number perspective. But that last race was a pretty big outlier. So it'll be interesting to see if you can have kind of that repeat effort at the 5-year-old year.
Yeah, and then somebody else says the 5 is live, brutal trips 2 times out and stretches out. This is a horse that another Boulevard of Broken Dreams type of horse. Why is Digital 12-1? You kidding me? Digital certainly is one I thought about, but Digital also disappoints me every time I pick this horse. Did you think about Digital at all?
If Digital had run better last race, I would have been much more interested. Right. But not progressing second out as a 4-year-old really made me take a step back. That being said, this horse has run well at Churchill. I mean, you can make an argument that this is probably Digital's favorite track. So maybe we can get a big effort. But I thought that this was actually a pretty deep race. I thought there was quite a bit of talent in here. And so because of that, I couldn't use them all, especially because I wanted to spread in a couple other legs, and specifically in $2 and $5 ticket, you really got to go as thin as possible. But you'll notice it's the only race I went too deep in the $5 ticket.
Right. Yeah. So you went deep in that race, or for sure. One more, Dr. Charles says Full Authority at 30-1. He thinks he's interesting at a big price. Full Authority, I will say this, has the capability, because this race looks kind of paceless, to get over and get a good position. I don't know if he can hold on. What did you think of Full Authority?
I considered Full Authority because he also had trouble in that last race. If you go back and you watch the replay, which I did because I picked home base, he checked. And so you could make a case that he's going to be able to try and sit the perfect trip right behind home base. And then it just becomes, can he get by? And if he can, he's the one they have to run down in the stretch, not the 10-horse home base. So I would not talk you off Full Authority, especially at 30-1.
Yeah, I think in this race and really in general with any kind of long shots, if they've got speed, they've always got a shot, because there is that chance they just get out in front and A, they feel great that day and keep going, or B, the horses behind them just don't make up any ground. I mean, how many times do you watch a race and you see that happen? So, yeah, look, at 30-1, definitely worth it. If the horse takes money for whatever reason, gets bet down, maybe not. I mean, you need to demand value there, but it's certainly a race where you could see something weird happen, because it's filled with a lot of horses that just don't really like to win. That's just the bottom line on it. Another horse, the Bourbon War, the 7-horse, that's one that everybody thought would be good. That horse was 5-2 to win the Florida Derby at one time. Now hasn't been close to the winner's circle since an allowance went at Gulfstream way back in 2019. So, but I mean, another one,
even Baracho, who finished third in the Woody Stevens in 2019, right? Like there's a lot of horses in here who have the talent, and on any given day could pop up, and you just wonder if one gets up front, are they going to get brave and just show that A game? And there's a lot of horses A game in this race that could win it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, let's move on to race 8. I think we've got that one covered. Race 7 covered as good as we could there. All right, main special weight, to kind of end this thing, going 5.5 furlongs on the turf. I definitely think this is a very good race. I think we've got some horses that might win here and maybe jump up and maybe be a factor in the allowance, and then maybe the stakes level. Mike, who did you lean towards in this one?
Yeah, I mean, we disagree on this. I think this field is shit. I was not. It was one of the struggles that I actually had. I don't think there's very much in this. I ended up on the favorite here, and I've seen River Tiber run a couple times. I remember that Belmont race where it started out his career, lost to Wink. He had Aldo, who ran third in that race, and then second time out at Saratoga, lost to Outdoor. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. This, I think, is just the most logical horse in this spot. I mean, I'm expecting a step forward. If you look at those fractions, I mean, 21 and change, 44 and change, both of those races, those were as a 2-year-old. You look at the rest of this field, no one's running that 66 buyer. Like, you've got some, like, we'll talk about the 10 horse. I didn't use it. I'm not sure if you did or not, but that's the best turf sprinting buyer there is in this field, that 66. It kind of gets lost because the 10 has 3 buyers in the 70s. All of those were off the turf. So, I mean, none of those races were turf sprinting. So I think you have a horse that ran the best buyers at 2, facing 3-year-olds that can't compete with those buyers out of a barn that we know loves to turf sprint. And then you've got just the pedigree here is beautiful. I mean, Warfront on the top, Sadler's Wells, Mare on the bottom. I mean, this horse should absolutely love getting a little bit older, should absolutely love the additional distance we're seeing here. I think River Tiber is going to be awfully tough against a field that I didn't see much of.
See, I think here's where we differ. Like these layoff horses, I think, we could see them jump up and run better than what we've seen. And I think the 8 absolutely is one of those. River Timber, and got the right trainer, to see a jump up as well. And look, the last time we saw this horse, like you said, lost to Outdoor, who's a very good horse and also trained by the same trainer, by the way, who Outdoor just enters races to scratch, I guess. He scratched out of another one. He's not going to run in the Pin Mile Friday. So anyway, River Tiber, I agree. I use that horse. I see you also use this horse, so I'll throw him in or him in as well. The number 5, is it Ocelot? Is that how you would say that? Ocelot?
I mean, you're asking me.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well,
I did it. I did it for the comedy. See,
we'll go. I didn't even look at the name. That's great. I like it is River Tiber, by the way, not River Timber. I got that one right. Yeah, I think it's Oslot. We'll go with Oslot.
Okay. See, you're showing off now. Yeah, Oslot. It's another one. Off the layoff, was kind of up at Woodbine, running pretty decently. I think the turf is the best surface for this horse. Bred to run really well on the turf. Off the layoff for McKnight, I like that angle. And David Cohen gets aboard, and that's those two. I think when they get together, it's a pretty good combination. So I thought that was kind of add some value. Another horse that running off of a layoff, and I think has a shot here. So the 5, the 8 for me, and I also let's see. Let me pull that one up. There it is. Oh, we both did it at the same time. Yeah. The 5, the 8. I used the 10. I used the 10, and this is. It's one of those things you're going to make fun of me for it because this is career maiden, but catches a field today to where if those two horses I just talked about, if they're not quite ready to go, he's just kind of better than everybody else, I think. And so I thought the 10 was one that you could use. I think he gets a pretty good stocking trip there. So yeah, I threw the 10 in. We'll see what happens. I'm sure you're going to make fun of me for that one, but I'll let you do that once I stop. So I'm going to talk for a little while longer to say this. I'm going to, again, the 7, 9 Reaper was the other one I threw in here. Gets to the turf and, didn't run just horrible at Turfway on debut. Miller was second-time starters. I kind of like that angle. He's kind of a sneaky trainer there. So I threw the 7 in as well. So I'll let you go on now, and you tell me why I'm dumb for the 10.
Well, I mean, what race on turf do you like? That was my biggest problem. Like, if this was scratched off the turf and we're running on the mud, then yeah, let's talk about this 10. But I don't really have an interest in playing a horse at 7-2 when the 3 best races are all off the turf races, right? Because then you're looking at a field that's kind of it's not going to be nearly as good. And my biggest concern, to be honest with you, a horse on a turf sprinting isn't close to the lead. All the speed that this horse shows, which is probably its most dangerous asset, is all in the mud. And then you go onto the turf and just can't keep up with turf sprinters. And so I'm concerned that, yes, it should get a decent stalking trip, be able to kind of sit outside the speed, but I'm just concerned about how far back this horse is. And, for me, I can't take it. I can't take 7-2 on a horse where I'm like, look, all the best races are all on the dirt and we're running on the turf today. So that was my big knock there. The 7, did you realize this is Darren Miller, not Peter Miller, right?
Oh, yes. No. Okay. Listen, Darren Miller grew up 5 miles from my hometown. All right. Yeah. So I'm all about Darren Miller.
Which stat do you like more, the 0 for 6 at Churchill or the 0 for 30 for the year?
Listen, stats are made to be broken. All right. Yeah. So
that's actually not true. They're made to be changed, but we don't need to go into that either. He's also 0 for 17 off this type of layoff, 0 for 8 in the second maiden start, 0 for 9 first turf. I'm going to go ahead and pass on a 4-1 shot with all those trainer numbers.
Now, listen.
To be honest, I don't think much of this field. This was my 3rd and 4th pick, or 4th and 5th pick that I'm making fun of. They would have been the next 2 on my ticket had something happened. Let's talk about the 2 for a second here.
Okay.
20-1 shot. And we talked about Jack Sisterson before. I kind of have a little bit of love affair with long shots of Jack Sisterson's. But again, we debuted this horse at 6.5 at Keeneland. That race was not being run to win. 0 chance he was going to win that race. That was just sheerly for experience. You got a street boss horse out of a Giants Causeway mare. This is a homebred for Calumet Farms. The plan was always to get this horse on turf. So that first race was sheerly an experience race. Now you're getting 20-1 in a turf sprint where if the 8 doesn't fire, I think this thing is wide open. I'll take that price all day on this 2 horse. I think that is an absolute steal of a price. I'm not sure if you're going to get 20-1. And if this horse goes into the gate at 5 or 6-1, watch out. That means that there's the word's out on this horse. And then, the 5 to me was the other one where I actually agree with you. I think Oslot has a legitimate chance to take a nice step forward. I think this is probably going to be your speed, which is ultra dangerous in a turf sprint with horses that are not that experienced. I like it when Norman McKnight, one of those trainers who does well up in Woodbine, is brought 10 horses down to this Churchill meet, 2 wins, a 2nd and a 3rd. So whatever he's bringing down is live. So I expect that 5 horse to be live. But I think this kind of starts and ends with the 8. And if the 8 doesn't fire, then it's wide open.
It has a feeling of it could just come down to 5-8. It really does. Listen, Darren Miller grew up in Verona, Missouri. Look it up. About 200-300 people live there. His mom still lives there. She's an accountant. So if you ever need taxes done in Verona, go to, I don't know her name, Mrs. Miller, we'll call her. And his brother bought shoes for me for like 100 years at the sporting goods store that I used to work at. So come on.
Strong trainer angles there. Every one of those explains why the 7's going to win.
Don't even start. Darren Miller, great trainer, great guy. The 7 is going to upset this field.
One of those two is probably true. I bet he is a great guy.
So we'll get to the comments here. Necker Island Scratch. That makes me so happy.
Yeah. I updated my 50-cent ticket, by the way. So now if it's scrolling down, it's 1, 2, 4, 10. So I did include the 4 there with Necker Island coming out.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. And then how about this? No Stribling for either of you. Come on, Flo and Mark with some speed. What did you think of Stribling? That would be the 3-horse.
The time form numbers are pretty bad. So that was one of my main concerns. Cassie 0 for 4 bringing horses over from North America. The fact that they gelded this horse right out of the gate, I didn't think was a great sign. So there's enough here that I was, again, if you like this horse, throw it in the 50-cent ticket. Because again, if the 8 doesn't win this race, it is wide open, and the 3 has every chance of being able to jump up and get it. I just thought that there were enough knocks here that I wasn't going to end up on this horse. But the flow on the horse obviously does make a difference, and that may be kind of the tipping of the hat that this horse has some talent.
This is my favorite kind of comment. A friend of one of my friends says he knows the 5 is winning this race today. I don't know. Thoughts? Well, I have the 5 as the top pick, so maybe I'm that friend. Maybe I'm the friend of the friend, and maybe I said that to him. Yeah. That's my favorite thing about going to a racetrack.
The percentage of the time a horse wins that I'm told a friend of a friend likes is about the same as Darren Miller's training percentage.
Listen, that is my favorite thing about going to the track, though, is hearing the conversation. It's like, my buddy works at this barn, and there's no doubt they're betting that horse. Yeah. You're right. It never really comes through. I do like the 5, though, so that's the good news. Yeah. And that's kind of what makes the game cool is you got all these different people that think they, know, or they're in the know, or, oh, they fixed this race today, So, yeah, it's interesting. All right, let's see. Yeah, okay, we'll do one more. Why no Road Bible in race 5? So let me go back to race 5.
Getting my scroll on here. You all can hear my microphone, I'm sure.
Oh, why no Road Bible in race 5? Samich, I'll let you go first. It's Steve Asmussen trained, so you can.
Yes, but it's on the dirt, so I have absolutely no problem with that.
Right.
Look, that last race was actually very good with Stage Raider and Harvard and Cronus. Uh-huh. That was the last day of the Keeneland Grade 1 Gamble, so I remember that race really well. I haven't really seen anything from this horse to think it's good. That's my biggest knock on it, right? I mean, both of the efforts are pretty flat when you go back and you watch them. The horse kind of tried to be close and then quit. This actually reminds me of the Aston horse that I owned, that Slim owned through my racehorse.
Yeah.
Wayno. This is a Wayno 2.0 horse to me, right? Where like you get really excited because the horse breaks well and it's like close to the pace, and then it just slowly goes the wrong direction. That's kind of what I got from both of these races. It has every chance to improve here. I mean, really, if you think the horse is better on fast than over a sloppy track, you can draw a line through that second effort, say that was a tough field. But its breeding shows it should have been good over the sloppy track. It should have kind of liked that. Mm-hmm. And when you have a $600,000 3-chimney horse that's also with Harold Ventures, that's with Steve Asmussen, that debuts at Fairgrounds and goes off at 6-1, and then comes back at 35-1, the board is kind of telling you how good this horse is.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm going to let this horse beat me. And if it does, then so be it. I mean, I understand why people would want to bet this horse. Obviously, the trainer-jockey connections are solid. The ownership group's solid. It's sold for a lot of money. Like, you're getting third to start, second start on a fast track. There's a bunch of different reasons why you can like it. But for me, especially if you're telling me it's 4-1, I'm going to end up passing on this horse.
Yeah, the horse has been facing really tough ones. There's no question about that. But I'm with you. I just couldn't get there. And I'm actually a Steve Asmussen fan, and I was like, yeah, I don't really want to do that. Where Mike just hates him. So, Steve, hey, let's ask him: Is Road Bible going to win the 5th race? No. Steve says no.
Steve says no.
No. So there you go.
Man, it's great to have trainers like Steve Asmussen here on Ricky Rockets. It's a big get for Ricky.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's really funny. I don't have a comment for that. Do friends ever tip that they are not winning? Von Hemels, okay, so Donnie will not ever say a word to me about anything. If it was Kelly, yes, they'll tell me all the time, don't bet that horse, he's awful. Bet that horse, he's decent. Yeah. Donnie will not say anything to anybody. I don't even think Donnie tells his wife who's winning and losing. So,
well, and there's also like there's the trainer's lie aspect of it, and like sometimes they don't know. I mean, there's a classic Magic Mike episode where Magic literally texted Chad Summers to be like, "Hey, is your horse going to run well? I kind of want to pick him in the last at 20-1." And Chad's like, "Do not pick him. No, he's not going to run well at all." Mm-hmm. And the horse closes like a freaking freight train at 20+1 and wins the race. So like, I'm all about like, look, it's just additional information, right? And you got to then parse through that information. Like the friend of a friend comment, how much do you trust that friend? Is that friend like, and why are they picking? Is it because they know something, or is it because, and what do they know? Who do they know from? And then how much do you trust that source? Like all of that to me is just parsing through additional handicapping information that you have before making your final decision.
And the biggest thing I can tell you about Donnie is like he's had just a horrific year, and he'll tell you that. I'm not mouthing him. He's like 1 out of 67, and it's hard to bet his horses right now. He just doesn't have the stock at the moment. So that's why I stayed away from the 8. And I think you probably know by now, if a Von Hemel horse has a sniff of a chance, I'm probably going to play it. But right now with Donnie, it's just hard to include him on tickets, unfortunately. All right, Mike, we've done it here. We've done it. We've capped these 4 races. I'll let you recap your tickets first, and then I will go.
Yeah, so I'm gonna play a ladder structure. I'm gonna start out with a 50-cent ticket at the bottom of that. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 5 with 5, 8 with 1, 2, 4, 10 with 2, 5, 8. That'll cost you $36 for 50 cents. You're gonna move 1 rung up that ladder and play a $2 pick 4. And we're gonna shorten it up to 2, 5 with 5, 8. With 1, 2, 10 with 8. That'll cost you $24 for $2. Then we're going to move all the way to the top of the ladder, play a $5 pick 4, and go 2 with 5 with 1, 10 with 8 for $5. It'll cost you $10. The entire ladder will cost you $70.
There you go. I love it. That's why I had you on, because I knew you would bring something new for us. So, all right, I'll go with mine and do the same old shit. I went with 1, 2, 5 in the first leg, with 4, 5 in the second leg. And, if you want to cut down the ticket, or if you want to add horses and other legs, the 5 would be the horse that I would single. Third leg, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then leg 4, 5, 7, 8, and 10. Look for Darren Miller to win with the 7 horse in that last leg. We've done it. We've filled in for Ricky. The show went on without him, so we've proven we can do it in case he needs to go to another Mets game or wherever. So, all right, we got a lot going on today, though, to get serious for a second. 5:30 Eastern, Magic Mike show. I'm guessing Belmont on Saturday, late pick 4?
That's the plan. It's supposed to rain up there. It's kind of disappointing this weekend. I was enjoying that current turf track that we had, but we're going to Belmont, I believe, for the late pick 4 at 5:30.
Listen, we'll see if it rains or not. Sometimes those forecasts are wrong, so maybe they'll be wrong. Let's hope they are, because, by the way, Bomb Squad, been doing pretty well. Really pretty well.
It's been a couple weekends. Let's just keep it rolling.
I was say, what do you have, about 6,000 in total payouts for Friday through Sunday?
It was like 7,200, but I appreciate you rounded down for anyone worried.
A question: kill someone? Ricky, I think he has killed someone. Yes, I think he's in the mob. I've told you guys that. But yeah, Magic Mike and Samba Bombs, I'm sure will be at Belmont. Are you going to do Pimlico Friday for the carryover?
I have 1 race left on the card. It is not a great card, but there's a big carryover, so we're going to go ahead and play it. It's by not great, I mean like it's $5,000 claimers all the way through. Yeah. Which, hey, I don't mind. Like I was betting Emerald last night. We're going to play Pimlico on Friday. We'll play Belmont on Friday. Then Saturday and Sunday we're planning on being at Belmont, and Monday we might go to Santa Anita. The card's actually pretty good out there on Monday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about Lone Star on Monday? Have you ever thought about that?
I have played the card, but I don't think we'll have bombs up for Lone Star.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough. All right. So 5:30 Magic Mike. Check that out. Also 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. Blinkers Off episode number 500. So check that out. Thank you. I'm getting ready to invite the entire team to come on the show. They don't have to come on for all of it. They can come on for 5 minutes, say hi, give a pick or whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm going to invite the entire Racing Dudes team. I'm going to invite some people that haven't been on in a while. We want everybody that's on, or everybody that's ever been on, to be invited. We're going to do that. It's a handicapping extravaganza. We're also going to cover like 10 races with rapid fire. And again, Mike, the guests do not have to give picks. They can just come on and say hi. So that's, please come on at least for 5 minutes, Mike. That's all I'm asking.
How late are you going?
Do what?
How late are you going to go?
As late as it takes for you to come on the show is how late we're going.
There we go. So Lily's going to bed like 9:15, 9:30. You guys got to keep it rolling.
Well, I'll hang on to the final thing. And by the way, if you're watching this show, the blinkers off comments, I think they're great because like our comment section's awesome. I think people are drinking and they just have the funniest comments. Come on. It's going to be an Ask Us Anything type of show as well. We will answer your questions on the comment section as well. We're basically just going to have a good time with it and really just relax. So check that out. 8 o'clock Eastern, we will be on. We back the Rockets tomorrow. We're going to be covering the Belmont Park Late Pick 5. So listen, we're out of here in less than an hour. That was the goal. That's what we're going to do. I'm signing off. Mike, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. And listen, you'll see Mike at 5:30 and then me at 8. So just stay tuned. Thanks for watching, everybody.